What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're going to talk about PlayStation and the state of Helldivers 2, because it seems like the developers have, at this point, completely pissed off everybody. PS5 owners, the Steam players, pretty much across the board, people are saying that the developers are attacking them, and also saying they want a refund, and now even talks about the fact that some people are calling the game a scam because of all the weird, terrible changes in it. But I want to discuss this because not only do I like Helldivers 2, not only have I played a lot of Helldivers 2, but I feel like this is a sign of things to come. I think the hate for Helldivers 2, it's clearly sending a message that Sony is hearing. But let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please, I would like it if you gave this video a subscription and liked it, but let's get into it. So, there's been a lot of discussion about Helldivers 2 ever since it initially came out. When it dropped in February, it was the biggest game on the planet. It had so many hundreds of thousands of concurrent players that the internet itself was starting to buckle, like the servers could not keep up with demand. But despite the memes and the magic and the fun gameplay and stuff like that, a lot of people were kind of saying, okay, what's next? With any live service game, I feel like there's that constant treadmill of being excited for the next update, the next change, the next tweak, the next big boss and stuff like that. But with Helldivers 2, it seems like every update, every change has been making the game worse and worse and worse. But a lot of this controversy that's been stirred up is because of a major patch that dropped last week. Now, I made a video talking about just sort of my initial impressions because I said I kind of hate this game now. I think it was good. I have played so much of it on my PS5, especially with the bros, but every time they try and tweak things, it just takes away more of the fun of dudes shooting bugs. So you can see here, it's down to mixed on Steam. It's wild that it has almost 700,000 reviews. The rough numbers is that this game sold like 15 million copies this year, which, I mean, truly cannot be understated. But the plan was clearly PlayStation has been pushing towards live service. There's currently live service games in development like crazy. 12 different live service games were being worked on just a couple of years ago by Sony, and this was supposed to be the biggest of that initiative. This was supposed to be that first big poke at the genre to see what would stick. And so it's interesting that pretty much everybody is saying the fun has been gutted. This game, which was groundbreaking, continues to be worse and worse and worse due to nerfs of the most favorite weapons and a lack of actually new stuff. Now, I have seen some people talking about the fact that the community managers are sort of memeing on the community, actually mocking their posts, saying stuff like, oh, I thought you were going to leave and refund. So a lot of people are saying they're going to refund it, they are going to uninstall it. There is a statement directly from the CEO as well. This was actually posted yesterday at 10 p.m. And he says, I haven't spoken to everyone, of course. Many of us are disappointed on a few levels. On one hand, the update had a bunch of nice stuff that isn't being talked about, maybe deservedly so, but many are not happy with the balancing this round. He talks about the fact that the community is saying WTF. Everybody is kind of saying, what's the point of these games that continue to evolve if the evolution is making it less and less fun? I have been a very vocal opponent to the idea of live service games. And to be honest, I've gotten some hate for it. I've heard some people say I'm closed-minded about always online experiences. And people, of course, bring up examples of games that not only have huge audiences and fan bases, but games that continue to grow and get bigger and better. I hear a lot of stuff from people like that are obsessed with Rainbow Six Siege, or the people that really loved that last DLC for Destiny 2, The Final Shape. I definitely know that there are good live service games. I'm a person that was completely addicted to World of Warcraft for about 6.5 years, and then got re-addicted to World of Warcraft Classic for an additional 3 years, because it's a hell of a drug, baby. But my issue is the fact that with any of these live service games, it does deeply irk me that the fun can change, that I can pay $40 for a game that I'm never going to get back and play it and love it, but the experience I had, the weapons I unlocked, the stuff I enjoy the most can be altered retroactively. That's kind of just the cost of live service games, but it sucks to see a game that continues to do worse and worse and worse. Like at one point, this game had almost 500,000 concurrent players just on Steam, and now it's doing better than it was. You can see here before the update was here on the 6th. It was getting down to about 30,000 players. Some screenshots were showing it down to like 10,000 players. You can see the game definitely isn't dead. I'm sure a lot of developers would absolutely kill to have even 43,000 concurrent players. This is still a big, big game. I think the problem is that we're seeing this conversation that gets toxic, where instead of just discussing the game or the elements or tactics, a lot of the discussion now is about the developers, the sourcing at Sony, the fact that this is just trying to keep you playing instead of keep you happy. I keep seeing stuff like this. The entire Helldivers 2 Reddit right now, to be honest, is a bit of a train wreck. A lot of people just trying to either defend it or meme on it. Just the fact that these live service games keep getting really gutted for the sake of keeping you playing. I have a conspiracy theory that a lot of these live service games, they are about just getting those engagement numbers. I do think that a lot of these things, they try and make it so there's extra side quests and stupid time-wasting tasks to get you to keep logging in, to keep playing, because it does bump up their metrics. It does make it seem like it's a more valuable studio if there is a higher concurrent player. And Helldivers 2 doesn't do that a lot, but it does have this thing called major orders, where there's constantly these weekly quests to defend a particular planet or try and wipe out a certain amount of an automaton or the bugs or whatever like that. It does seem like Helldivers 2 is kind of imploding because of its own narrative. The player base is getting so fed up at the state of the game's development that they're just decided to stop defending Super Earth. So, because this is an evolving storyline, the way it works is that the bugs and the bots are trying to go and destroy our planet, and they get closer and closer and closer. The worse we do, the more they get close to Earth. Theoretically, they could evolve or invade at some point. Well, up until now, because the game has such a big fan base, they have kept everything at bay. They have been able to run enough missions to complete enough of the major orders, which are like the weekly quests, that it kept the baddies at bay. But now, because of this boycott, because of these people that are so annoyed by the lack of fixing it, by constantly nerfing the weapons that are the most enjoyable, you're seeing that people are now just saying, yeah, screw the game, screw the developers, screw this universe, because if you're not going to make it more fun, I don't really care about what storylines I'm going to mess up by letting Super Earth get wrecked by some freaking bots. So many of these memes are people just literally listing bit by bit in the most obsessively itemized fashion about how games as a service, in my opinion, is kind of falling on its face. Give us more magazines, not less. Give us more grenades, not less. We want to have fun in a cosmic power fantasy with big guns and explosions. Everybody is discussing this, and I find it fascinating that so many people are doing Doom memes, because obviously Doom is fantastic. It has made so many incredibly good Doom games, and part of the fun of it is just the rip and tear, you know? Double jumping, taking down a boss, doing those disgustingly delicious takedowns where you eviscerate somebody with your handsaw or whatever. And I think people are at a point where, okay, difficulty isn't unenjoyable. Obviously, I love frickin' Dark Souls. Obviously, Elden Ring's DLC is also one of the biggest games of the year. But what happens if your game stops being enjoyable because the tone has switched so much? Like, we still don't even have the third faction, the Illuminate. They're supposed to be released at some point. The game is dying so fast, people are making memes about the fact that by the time they release the third faction, no one's even going to be playing to actually defend Super Earth. I find myself in a spot where with any live service game, even really good ones like Final Fantasy XIV, obviously not only is this one of the biggest live service games of all time, it's an MMORPG by Square Enix that pretty much funds the other experiments of Square Enix for the last decade. Their new expansion, a lot of fans have been kind of hating on it. Well, this is Pro Jared. Pro Jared said he didn't like it. You can see he's being ratioed into the planet. I think that live service games in general, I think they're going to continue to fail. I think we're going to hit this turning point, and I think PlayStation is about to wake up to this. Xbox is still doing pretty successful because their live service games like Sea of Thieves and stuff are on Game Pass, which I do think helps the numbers. But I think a lot of these companies are beginning to realize that you can't just force a Fortnite. You can't just dump enough intellectual property and cool gun skins and decent gameplay. I just feel like live service games at all are kind of dying out. I just think the idea of playing a game forever does not engage people as much as it used to. Like, maybe I'm coping and I'm being a boomer, but when I think of the best games of the last 5 years, they're games that are single player or have a multiplayer component. Stuff like Baldur's Gate, stuff that has a strong focus on a complete package, a good value, and a damn fun adventure. These live service games, even when they are fun, even when they are actually exciting, it sucks to think that they can just die. Helldivers 2 someday is going to get taken offline. Every bit of the fun you've had will eventually be deleted, but that's kind of just life. I think it's just the fact that as these live service games, even a good one that manages to fix itself, like No Man's Sky gets like 50 billion free updates that keep making the game bigger and better. I just feel like for every No Man's Sky that does improve itself, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of games that milk you for money and absolutely no actual fun. I don't know. This is just an off-the-cuff thoughts because honestly, the death of Helldivers 2, obviously, I think the game is going to live for a very long time to come, but watching it go from the biggest and most beloved game of the year to a pretty much forgotten example of a live service game that flew too close to the sun, it's weird to watch. But tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.